Welcome to Backyard Cigars. So glad that you could join me once again today for another vintage cigar smoking experience. And I know some of you might be saying, Jose, you smoke a lot of vintage cigars. What do you get out of it? Because, a lot of people feel that vintage cigars really have very little to offer in terms of flavor. And the historical experience that you may be getting isn't something that everybody really clamors for. I mean, not everyone's going to be like me, geeky nerd into history of all kinds, but specifically cigar history. And not everyone's going to appreciate that. And I get that, and that's fine. We're all allowed to have different choices in what we find interesting. And when it comes to cigars, I get it. We want to talk about current cigars that are relevant to us nowadays. But I find that looking back into the past gives us a glimpse into the future. And with this company, most people haven't heard of it, at least not in the United States. But this is a company that has its roots in Belgium. So it's been pretty big in Europe for nearly 100 years. And the current CEO of this company, his name is Frederic van der Marle. And now I may be butchering the last name. And I'm sorry if I butchered it, but I just tried to get it right and I couldn't. Anyway, he's the current CEO, but his grandfather started this company way back in 1926. Maybe even a little bit before that, but 1926 is what their website says, when he began a manufacturing arm to his cigar business in an attic above the cigar shop. And then by 1930 something, he had outgrown that and moved to a nearby village where machine-made cigars were starting to become a thing. So while this company did make some handmade cigars in its time, Cuban cigars, it kind of went the way of the machine-made cigars, and it got very popular for making high-quality machine-made cigars. As a matter of fact, to this day, J. Cortes still makes a lot of little cigars, a lot of machine-made cigars, but in 2016, it purchased the Oliva Cigar Company. That's right, the Oliva Cigar Company, makers of Nub, makers of Oliva Melanio, and all of those good things, Oliva Reserva, those cigars, not to be confused with the Oliva Tobacco Company of Tampa, Florida. This company was purchased by J. Cortes, and they did the smart thing. They decided we're going to leave John Oliva and all these folks in charge. We're gonna leave them in charge we're gonna leave them as CEO. We're gonna let the family continue to run the business. We're gonna own it, but we're gonna let them run the business because we want that assurance that the quality is still gonna be there, that the pride in the cigar making is still gonna be there. And it's not that they couldn't do it, but why? Why? They're running a good operation there. They sold it. And so here we are. This is going back now. This cigar is going back now to the 1940s and the 1950s. So this cigar is potentially 70 to 80 years old. It needs to be smoked now, okay? If you're holding on to a 70-year-old cigar, please, by all means, smoke it. So I didn't need to cut any cap, pre-drilled hole. Today's a very weird day. I just want to say this right now. Today is June 7th, and it's approximately 1:41 p.m. And over the last few days, especially yesterday, we've had this haze come through and really just cover the whole area in a smog. It looks like a fog. It might be a smog, but it's a haze of basically the Canadian wildfires that are burning, and how all of that smoke is being pushed across the United States. So you have that, and I think there are some other wildfires going on as well. But basically, it's really strange. If you look outside, what you see is a yellow haze. And it's just, I feel like I'm in a room where someone turned on a yellow light bulb. That's what I feel like. You're not going to hear any helicopters today. I don't know about planes. Planes might be rerouted, possibly, but you're not going to hear any helicopters in the background in my video today. That's a good thing, because I hate those helicopters, and I hate that you have to hear them as well. But you're not going to hear them because they're not flying across Business has been shut down because there's just no visibility. So let's find out what we're tasting here, because that's what we're here for, right? We want to know if the vintage cigar of the day is any good. Because we hear what you're saying, Jose. We hear about the experiences that you have with them, but rarely, if ever, do we hear you jump out of your seat to say, go out and try to find this. I'm never going to do that, really. I don't like to make people feel like they need to do something because I'm saying it. That's not the way I roll. A little bit of cardboard right now. You don't believe me? Take a look at that. Take a look at that. You see that? You're supposed to be able to see some water. Maybe some buildings. Maybe something. Maybe a hotel or two, but you don't see a thing. And that's just how it looks. And to make matters worse is that you actually smell as if a million fireplaces were all lit at once. And you just get that smell in the air. So I'm actually not very sensitive to smoke and things like that, but I shouldn't be out here for too long. Now, I'm under the impression that this J. Cortes cigar, dating back to the 1940s and 50s, and this is a specific cigar, La Flor de Cortes. La Flor de Cortes, and it really sounds Cuban, right? I mean, there's Cuban long filler used in this cigar, 100% Cuban long filler for the filler. I don't know if it has a binder, and if it does, what it is. Again, it might not even be machine made for all I know. They got into the machine making thing by the 30s, but they still maintained a small handmade cigar operation going. So I couldn't tell you if, and I did my research, I really did. I looked into it. I couldn't find much about La Flor de Cortes, other than some pictures of some cigar bands that really didn't even give me dates. So it was just pictures. I don't know, a little saltiness in the finish. Cardboard has faded just a little bit. We'll see. The aroma is mild on this cigar, but it wouldn't really matter if it was a stronger aroma, because with the burning fires from Canada sending us all of this, smoke, all I really smell is like, a fireplace out here. So I probably wouldn't get a lot of the aroma anyway. But in terms of flavor, a little bit of cream, a little bit of saltiness, tiny bit less of cardboard. Well, I'm glad that you and I both don't have to hear the helicopters. I am concerned about this. I've never really seen anything like this. And usually if I can't go outside to smoke a cigar, it's because it's too cold. If it's 100 degrees outside, I can still smoke a cigar. Maybe I won't do a review, but I can still smoke a cigar. I can still find a way to cool myself down and enjoy a cigar. I've done it. And if it's too cold, obviously, you can start a fire and you can bundle up. But I don't like the cold, so I don't smoke out in cold weather any longer. But this is weird. I shouldn't be out here probably because of the smoke in the air and the pollutants in the air. But I'm out here. And I'm out here for a short amount of time because this is a petite Corona. I shouldn't be out here for longer than 30 minutes, if that. And this way I can just tell you what I think about this cigar, because I've been holding on to it for too long and it's time to let it go. I don't know if this is becoming a trend or not, but in the last 3, this one included, vintage cigars that I've smoked, when you get to that final third is when you start to get a little bit more satisfaction, when you start to get a better idea of what this cigar may have offered. And in this case, It's kind of shaping up the same way, only with less impact, with less flavor, with less of that satisfaction that I found in the Perfecto Garcia and in the Garcia y Vega cigars. Yeah, just, a hint more of the pepper, a lot less of cardboard. I didn't really get any cardboard in the last two puffs, and I've just been getting a mustiness, though. It's been a musty flavor that I've been getting. It isn't offensive, so to speak. It's not, but it's there, and it's part of the profile right now. And, you get a little bit of that extra pepper, which you didn't get any of in the first and second third. And that's about it. A little cream here and there. Retrohaling this cigar is like, it's just, you feel a little sensation of salt, and you pick up a little bit of salt trace. No sweetness. It's just not much to it. The cigar hasn't really offered me much, folks. It has not offered me much at all. It really hasn't lived up to the expectation I had for it, but it was smokable, yes. Was it offensive? No, at least not the second and the final third. The first third, there was a lot of cardboard and mustiness. The second third, it picked up a little bit in flavor, gave you a little bit of saltiness, a little bit of creaminess. And then by the final third, you got a little more out of it, but still not enough for me to, I would say, to someone who's buying this, I would say, don't overpay for something like this. Cortes, a brand known primarily in Belgium, a brand that we're not really that familiar with, doesn't have that type of legacy that some of the famous Cuban brands have, although it is using Cuban tobacco from some prestigious Cuban farm back in the 1940s and 50s. Although that is all true, that does not necessarily make this cigar a winner in my book. I think this cigar has performed way below my expectation, and my expectation was not for it to perform on a high level. I did expect to get a little bit more out of it. A little bit more pepper, and in this final third, sort of a consolation prize that I'm getting a little bit more flavor and that I'm not getting cardboard, but still not what I envisioned for this cigar smoking experience. Let me not lead you astray. Let me not fool you into thinking that every vintage cigar smoking experience is going to be lively and enlightening or provide you with what you really want, which is a really good smoke. And in this case, it just didn't measure up. It goes that way sometimes. But thank you for watching. Till next time on Backyard Cigars, I'm getting my ass back inside before I start choking.